Here we go. So we are recording this session. The recording will begin now. All right, and with that, I think we're going to go ahead and begin. So welcome everyone to today's webinar around cost management, a strategic emphasis, our newest 9th edition. We're so thankful that you've joined us today. We're going to have a great time talking with some of our renowned authors for this particular title. So I'd like to go ahead and first introduce our two authors. Paul Juris from Babson College. Paul, would you like to say hello?
Well, hello, everyone. Oh, and just to point out, Lauren, we do have a little issue with your side screen when you switched out. You might want to expand your...
We'll try this one more time.
Sure. But hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Paul Juris from Babson College. And there you go. Better. Thank you. And welcome. Thank you for joining this WebEx.
And we are also joined by Steve Smith from Brigham Young University. Steve, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, I would love to. Hello, everyone. Steve Smith from Brigham Young University. Delighted to be with you today. Thanks for joining us.
Fantastic. And with that, we're going to go ahead and start our presentation. For those of you who have any questions throughout today's webinar, please don't hesitate to enter them into the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. I'm Lauren Schur, Marketing Manager on McGraw-Hill's accounting team, and I'm joined by Danielle McLemore, our Portfolio Manager. Danielle's going to be manning our chat and Q&A. So Danielle, thanks so much for your assistance. And we will take some pauses midway through our webinar to answer any questions you might have for our authors. So with that, today's agenda, really quickly, we're going to walk through our author approach and distinguishing features of Blocher's cost management with our tremendous authors. And then for the second half of our webinar, we're actually going to jump into some live demonstrations of some core innovations that are new to this edition. So things like data analytics, Excel, our new partnership with Proctorio, and at the very end, we will briefly mention some support resources that you have access to in regards to the CPA evolution. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to our amazing authors, and we will begin.
Okay. Well, thank you. Again, thank you all for joining us. I want to spend a few minutes, and I know that, Lauren, you're controlling the slides, so if you would mind just advancing to the next slide.
Apologies, it looks like our slide deck is having some issues.
Okay, well, I have it. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the approach that we've taken to this book. I've been on the book for a number of editions. Our founding co-author is Ed Blocher, and when he created this book, the idea of high strategic emphasis was there from the beginning. So it's not something that's new. It's something that we have had as part of this book all along. So the title is intentional, a strategic emphasis. It has always been that. Because the idea is to make sure that people understand how information is being used, not just how to compute the results or do a lot of analysis. And also the fact that the title is cost management rather than cost accounting, recognizing the fact that this is not something that just focuses on how do you calculate a number, but how do you use the information to help manage costs aligned with organizational strategies. So sometimes that means spending more money, but spending it wisely. And so the approach all along has been support decision makers. And yes, of course, there are the mechanics that are part of what might be traditionally called a cost accounting curriculum. We recognize those items are still part of many schools. But again, from the very beginning, the goal has been a strategic emphasis in helping support decision makers. So if we could move on to the next slide, please. Now, we think about strategy. This is not a strategy book per se. We're not going to teach you how to determine strategy. We're not going to evaluate strategy in this book. The idea is to say, once a strategy is given and understood, how do you support achieving that strategy? How do you evaluate your results against those strategic objectives? And so we're thinking long-term. There are short-term elements of any type of decision, but the idea from a strategic point of view is to think more long-term in focusing on what can be done, how are we doing, how are we progressing. It's kind of like being on a journey. You set your direction, and you might have to make some turns along the way to accommodate roadblocks, or if a bridge is out if you're driving. But you know what your ultimate objective is, and you have to find ways to get there. And so that's really where this idea of the long-term plan is don't lose sight of the fact that as long as you achieve the long-term goal, you are going in the right direction. And the information that we try to get people to focus on is evaluating how we are doing with respect to the journey. So help keeping managers and decision makers aligned with what the ultimate objectives of the organization are, achieving short-term goals to ultimately accomplish long-term objectives. So again, that's the idea of a strategic focus. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, the other thing that we want to focus on here is not just creation of information, but what information is needed. So rather than waiting for someone to tell you what to do, helping students understand what information might be needed in a particular situation, and then also what it means to me. And so it's idea of the understanding, the supporting role that the information that's going to be analyzed, or the data that's going to be analyzed, is going to help with respect to providing insights to management. So if we understand the strategic role of the organization, if we understand what senior leadership is focusing on, be it the CFO or controllers, the idea is to learn from a competitive point of view what we might want to focus on, what kinds of things could help differentiate the organization, and making sure that they're spending time and energy and resources on those items, because resources cost money. So that by its very nature, when you're talking about resource optimization, about utilization of resources, you are talking about costing. Right? So we keep that in mind throughout everything that we do, again, aligning with strategy. And so part of that is what we do is the real world focuses. And the real world focus items, we have a couple of components with respect to real world focus. One are the boxes that are called real world focus itself. And in these, we provide examples, looking at items that we have seen that make direct connections to the items that we incorporate into the text. So we see a situation here. We're talking about Caterpillar. 10, 11 years ago, they made an investment, and it affected their cost structure. Recognizing then that as time changed, now all of a sudden maybe demand is changing, but because they had invested in a lot of infrastructure, and we will talk about cost structure and fixed costs, we see that maybe they have to make some adjustments, but it takes time. So this is just an example, and the quote here says, for example, the person from Caterpillar saying, we are lowering our cost structure. So they're using the terms that we actually use in the book, that we teach, and we're showing how people do, in fact, pay attention to these. This example is coming from the fact that it's a fixed cost. As we illustrate, fixed costs take time to adjust. They can be changed. So we just tie in real examples that from companies that people probably have heard of. And so this is the real world focus. The next item that we have, if we move on to the next slide, please. So cost management in action. This is a slight variation to the real world focus. So here, rather than just simply giving you an example, we draw from the real world and provide some questions that you could then think about, and you have the ability to look at really what happened and analyze and say, okay, gee, how would I use this information? So rather than just reading about it, the idea is to get you to think more about it. And again, drawing information from the real world, from areas that we find. We're constantly looking for items that relate to the material we cover in the text. So, the real world focus, the cost management in action, these are just direct connections to what people might be seeing out there, across the world. And in order to help explain points, the next slide, please. Yes, okay, supporting illustrations. So in here, we try to make sure that as we explain concepts, we have visuals that will help people understand what is going on. So this is just one example of where we spend the time to provide different ways to explain concepts. This one here talking about two types of process costing, and simply trying to give a different way for people to envision what is in fact going on. So these are some of the elements with respect to the approach of the body of the text itself that we present. Then we also have end of chapter material, and I'm going to turn it over to Steve to talk a little bit about what happens at the end of the body of each chapter.
Okay, thanks, Paul. I'm happy to pick that up. One of the things, my friends, that I think we're all sort of really proud of about the book is how extensive and how broad the end of chapter material we have developed really is. Lauren, if we could go to the next slide. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm not quite finished yet. Let's go back to, that's the one. I apologize. Yeah, we've taken great care, and I've been on the book for fewer editions than Paul has, but this is the second edition that I've been on, and have been impressed from the beginning with the care that all of the author team has taken to develop assignment material that is clear, that reinforces the concepts and procedures and tools that have been presented in the chapter, and that have high expectations for students, but also some serious breadth. And what I mean by that is I teach this class to both my MBA students and to my undergrads, or I use this text in both my MBA class and my undergrad sort of intermediate cost class. And you might think, well, of course you do, Steve, you're an author. And I get you there, but I wouldn't if I didn't find in the book material that is well suited and sort of customizable for both of those audiences. And it's one of the things that I've been very impressed with and that we've really worked hard on. You will see if you look through the book that there are a number of distinguishing features or elements that we want to highlight in particular end of chapter assignments. So if a problem has a particular strategic element, you'll see that little chess knight there indicating that. If there's an international element or a service component, if we're talking about a service rather than say a manufacturing or retail environment, then there'll be that little service bell there. If there's an ethical component to a problem or assignment or a sustainability element, then those are all indicated there, and it becomes a nice way to sort of customize your problem sets if you want to highlight any of those features. Let's go on, if we could, please, Lauren. Thank you. I'm going to talk about some of the other, I should say, distinguishing features of our text that I think we're really proud of. Let's go on. Yeah. The first is, piggybacking on Paul's comments that we really do emphasize this strategic element or this strategic focus, is that each chapter uses either the real world company that we talk about at the beginning of the chapter, or perhaps some example company that we are highlighting in order to teach concepts and tools in the chapter. And we walk through this framework for integrating strategy and talk about how cost accounting and cost management information can be used to optimize the execution of strategy, right? So we talk about determining strategic issues, identifying the alternatives, obtaining information, analyzing that information in an appropriate way, and then making a decision and then evaluating it on an ongoing basis going forward. One of the things that we ask our students here at BYU all the time is, what is the purpose of brakes on a car? And the easiest answer always is, well, to slow the car down. And we say, yeah, that's true, but it's not its ultimate objective. The ultimate objective of brakes on the car is to allow the car to go fast, to allow the car to be aggressive and agile, to slow down when necessary, but to move forward and to go fast when necessary. And the same could be said of good, accurate cost information, cost accounting. It allows an organization to execute its strategy or to operate strategically, is what I mean to say, rather than generically. to identify opportunities and to execute on those opportunities in a way that that allows the organization to execute a strategy and be successful. And what I love about this strategic emphasis and the way that we integrate it in just about every chapter is that we really do emphasize that cost accounting information has a seat at the table and is vital, is not operating in just some support role, but is vital for the execution of strategy. And we talk a lot about integrating that and making that happen. All right, let's move on. If we could, please, Lauren, thank you. We talk about the competitive global economic environment. We recognize that it is impossible to execute strategy without a consideration of economic and political factors that are at play throughout the whole world. So we talk about globalization. We talk about some of the recent pullback from globalization and things like Brexit and things like that. We try to give an international flavor or an understanding of how the execution of strategy and the need for good cost information comes right along with consideration of global factors. And so I like that very much. Let's go on to the next slide. From the very beginning, this book has integrated at a high level the development of Excel skills. So that's not just the case in end of chapter materials. It's not just the case in the Excel tutorials that I'm going to talk to you about, but even in the text of many of the chapters itself, there will be, here's how you can do this. Here's how you can execute this skill in Excel. And it can become very powerful and it can become very fast. And there's some walkthrough of particular formulas and tools in Excel to do that. So a consideration of how powerful and effective and helpful Excel skills can be runs through the whole book. And it's something that that we're very pleased with and that we've emphasized and tried to improve with each edition. Okay, I'm going to move on to a couple other things, particularly some of the video programs that we have developed. One of the end of chapter features that we have is a self-study problem that precedes each of the exercises and problems themselves, but it is a fairly rigorous and robust problem that can be assigned for self-study, can be very helpful for students. And we have for each of those a video walkthrough for students to really get understanding rather than just seeing the solution, but having it walked through for them on a video, we find can be very helpful. So we're really proud of those videos. There's also, as I said, an Excel tutorial that is associated with each chapter. That means there are 20 of them with a video walkthrough there that walks through how the Excel skill can be executed and can be helpful and can be optimized. Really good material there, given that after all is said and done, so much of business takes place in Excel. So much of analysis and reporting takes place in Excel. And then we have introduced brand new in this edition 10 Tableau assignments, each of which is attached to a particular exercise or assignment. Many of them are elaborated from the assignment in the book so that the Tableau piece can really pop. But in addition to the assignment and the solution, there is a video walkthrough of how to do the assignment in Tableau for each of those. And we're really proud of that as a brand new feature in this edition of the book. So that's just a brief summary. I haven't even mentioned the things that sort of we've always had, which are cases and readings, PowerPoint presentations, sample syllabi, checked figures. There's all kinds of features. Of course, we love the integration with Connect. We find it to be a really slick tool. But that's just a little sampling of some of the distinguishing features that we're really excited about in this 9th edition of the Blocher text. And with that, I will. Oh no, we do have some more. Let's go back to more. We have some. Just some pictures. There's the. Oh, I see. We just to sum up here with an increased use of data analytics and visualization. We've tried very hard to to embrace that management accountants today need the skills of Excel, but also analytics and visualization tools like Tableau. Tableau is free for students, which is why we see that being used at a high level in universities, but it's also in wide use in practice. So that's I think that's a nice integration there. Okay, I'm sorry I was a little behind there, but I'm done now, and I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Lauren.
All right, thanks so much, Steve. So I'm going to pause really quickly and just ask Danielle, who's managing our Q&A, if there are any questions that have come in before we move into a deeper dive on data analytics and career readiness in general.
Hi, everyone. I do have one question here about the self-study review problems, the videos associated with them and how they are accessible to students. The self-study review videos are offered as guided example links within the assigned, within the assignments in Connect. So if you assign one of the self-study review problems, you can enable or disable the link that will pop up the guided example walkthrough video for your students. We also have some self-study review problems that are not built in Connect because they don't lend themselves well to auto grading. And the videos for those self-study review problems are available in the media library. Students can access them at any time. No assignment is necessary.
Thanks,
I have one more question. Will your textbook include sustainability cost report discussions?
Okay, I can comment on it. Okay, so when we talk about sustainability reports, so sustainability is an aspect of some of the problems that we have within the book, and there was an icon, what Steve had mentioned about some of those. When we look more advanced at sustainability reporting, and we could talk about the fact that the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board and the IFFC or IFFR had merged to create a new organization. We've got IFAC is now promoting perhaps the creation of a new organization to create sustainability reporting standards. There is no standard sustainability report, if that's what the question is, that we could focus on. I've done some research in this area, and I found hundreds of different ways that organizations do report. And so while the majority of the S&P 500 do some kind of voluntary sustainability reporting, there is no uniform disclosure yet, and none of it is currently required by the SEC in this country, although they're talking about doing some emissions requirement reporting. There's a exposure draft out there. So there's a lack of uniformity. So while we talk about sustainability in some of the materials, there's no one dedicated framework that we can adopt because so far there has not been convergence on what would be considered acceptable even within this country, let alone globally. So we do talk about it, but we don't make a relation, we don't connect to any specific framework at this point. That's something that possibly come as the as we look around and see what becomes more widely accepted.
Thanks so much, Paul. All right, well, if there are no other questions, Danielle, we're going to go ahead and move forward and dive into a conversation and some live demonstrations around career readiness and some really exciting new innovation.
You know what, Lauren? Sorry to jump in, but we have a late breaking additional question, which is why are contribution income statements emphasized in most cost accounting textbooks? Is there any company or any field of study that the contribution income statement is used for strategic decision making? Paul or Steve, can either of you speak to that question?
Oh, I'll weigh in briefly on that. I couldn't identify a particular company right now. What I can say is, if they don't, they should, right? I've just spent a few weeks with my MBA students talking about the critical value of moving from a GAAP income statement mentality or perspective that focuses on cost functionality and shifting instead to a perspective that focuses on cost behavior. I mean, and if we can distinguish between fixed and variable costs and think about an income statement that way, well, then all kinds of things open up to us, all kinds of analyses, and thinking about things like leverage and other CVP type tools, which are very powerful, sort of open up to us in a way that are not open to us in when we look at the income statement through a financial reporting lens that again focuses more on sort of cost function. And I also make the point that there are very few sort of ERP systems that are going to produce a contribution margin income statement for you. This perspective requires the work and initiative of some enterprising analyst or FP&A, new FP&A manager or a consultant. It isn't something that is sort of organic in most reporting systems. It has to be done usually in Excel or some other more powerful tool, sort of outside of the traditional reporting frameworks. But boy, what power we get when we can look at an income statement in that way. And I think a lot of companies, under the hood, are in fact doing that. But it's too powerful to ignore in a cost accounting book or course, in my opinion.
And I'll add to that a little bit. I again, in my MBA classes, there's one organization that we have quite a few students from the same organization, and we are just finishing up the semester. We do 7-week courses, and they're doing projects based on material that we cover in our course. And quite a few people do projects where they say, oh my gosh, this idea of understanding cost structure and contribution would have helped us make different decisions internally. Now, I don't know of a lot of companies that share that information. I mean, it's strategic information for them. They're not necessarily going to make it easily accessible to the outside world, but internally they're talking about how it is a valuable tool for them to make decisions with respect to different ways that they can use their existing resources. And so, yes, it is being used. No, they're not broadcasting it to the world. But again, sometimes you don't really share that information with everyone because it is of a strategic nature, or it's at a lower level that they might be deciding which of the machines will we use to run a particular production run, and there you might talk about contribution margin per scarce unit of resource. Well, that's an operating decision that happens in real time, and then that's a useful piece of information, but they're not something that they're going to necessarily report to people. It's just a different way to analyze a problem, and they find it to be valuable. So yes, I'm aware of managers that are making use of these tools, and when they learn about them, if they haven't used them in the past, they're saying, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I now know this. I'm starting to apply it, and I wish I had been able to use this tool before. So the idea of cost structure and contributions is something that managers do value with decision making.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Danielle, just one last check-in. Any other questions that have come in?
No more at this time. Thanks, Lauren.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move forward. This is going to be the second part of today's webinar, and this is really all about our Connect Learning platform. And we're going to focus primarily on our biggest innovations that are both new to this edition and also new to our Connect platform that we want everyone to know about. And we're going to be focusing a lot on career readiness, specifically data analytics. So we know that data analytics is here to stay. Large firms are sponsoring data analytics programs. We know that students are being hired in more and more data analytics roles. And ultimately, this really isn't a trend anymore. This is an important piece of business at large. I can speak to just my own personal role at McGraw-Hill and the fact that I use Tableau every day in my role, as do all of my colleagues. And this is what we're going to be seeing more and more because data drives decisions. So with that, we are actually going to go live in Connect. So I'm going to actually exit out of this slide deck, and I will just give a quick note to everyone. I apologize, but my screen on my laptop is broken, and you can see that on the right-hand side of this screen share. So I'm keeping everything that is viewable to the left-hand side of that. So hopefully you can kind of ignore that. So ultimately, I've now jumped into a Connect course for this title. Quick note, the Connect course that I'm in right now is actually a pre-built course, and it is pre-built and aligned with the OLC, or the Online Learning Consortium standards for online learning. And we have built out all of our core dynamic content into this pre-built course. This is an option for any instructors who are looking to start from a course that's actually already pre-built with all of the content that we recommend assigning, and then you can edit from there. So just a quick call out to that as an option for faculty. And in this course, I'm on the instructor side right now. And the first thing that we're going to take a look at is what we call our applying Tableau exercises. So I'm going to actually view those as an instructor. So I'm going to go into my add assignment queue, open up my question bank, and then ultimately what you're going to see is your drop-down menu for all of the robust content that we offer in Connect for this title. You can see content is organized by chapters, and at the very top of this menu, you'll also note some of the items that have already been spoken about. So we have Excel offerings. This is where those amazing new Excel tutorials live. We discussed the self-study problem videos, which are also located here. For now, we're going to open up applying Tableau data visualization. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and click select. And you can see in my question bank, I'm now looking at all of the applying Tableau assignments that we have available in this course. Now, I often times reference these as cases or activities because that's really what we're asking of students in these assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and open one up so you can see what they look like, both from the student side and then also from the instructor side, because there's some core aspects of viewing these as an instructor that I think are really important. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this first applying Tableau assignment. This is an assignment for chapter 3. And what you're going to see right away is that the first thing we do is speak to students and oftentimes instructors about how to be supported in getting started with Tableau. So we note the link that students will go to access their free 1-year educational version of Tableau. We also mentioned to them just a quick tip that they want to register as soon as possible because Tableau does actually require some kind of verification of an educational student or instructor. And so it does take a little bit more than a 1-day, same-day approval. And then, as we mentioned earlier on, we also offer Tableau training videos. So we have Tableau training videos from Tableau themselves, and then we also have step-by-step instructional videos embedded into these assignments. So these are really phenomenal if you as an instructor are just starting to learn about Tableau yourself. And they're also really wonderful for students because they walk through visually the steps that students are going to encounter in this assignment. So ultimately, I could go ahead and play this video and it's going to walk through the steps of this assignment for students. And then ultimately, students are going to start actually working on their Tableau assignment. So our applying Tableau assignments are all set up in the same format. We provide students with an Excel file of financial data, or as I like to say, big data. From here, students will then go into their student Tableau account. They will load this data file, and then they will follow these quick and easy steps to work within Tableau to build a Tableau dashboard. So students are getting hands-on training with data analytics software that they quite likely will use in their careers. It's also wonderful for students to put on their resume and ultimately really prepares them for their careers post-graduation. You can see right away that there are some auto-graded questions that are tied to this assignment. Now, I've walked through this assignment myself as a student, and I will say it took me about 5 minutes to build this Tableau dashboard based on loading this Excel data file. So I can tell you from my own experience, it's incredibly easy. Our directions are very detail oriented and split into different steps. And that's very purposeful because we don't want students to get lost in their instructions. We recognize that sending them out to a piece of software can sometimes be a little bit daunting, so we don't want them to struggle at all in building this dashboard. Ultimately, once they build their dashboard, they're going to visualize and analyze that data in their Tableau account, and then come back to Connect and answer these auto-graded questions. Now, as an instructor, on the instructor side, which is what you're viewing right now, we give you explanations for all of these auto-graded questions, and we give you, obviously, the answers. Underneath that, what we also offer you is a visual of what the Tableau dashboard should look like within Tableau. So what you're seeing on my screen right now is the instructor view of what the Tableau dashboard is going to look like if students followed their instructions accurately. So this is what the students are seeing. This is what they're visualizing and analyzing to ultimately fill in these auto-graded questions. So this is an applying Tableau assignment. As you can see, it's very straightforward and ultimately very easy for students to work through and get that hands-on experience within data analytics software. Now, really quickly, I'm actually going to scroll back up within Connect, and I'm going to go back to my question content area. And the reason I'm doing so is because I also want to mention that within our integrated Excel and other Excel resources, if I were to open this up, what you're also going to see is that we offer applying Excel assignments. So if I were to open this up really quickly, here we're going to open up a basic Excel skills applying question. And it's going to look very similar to our applying Tableau content, minus some of the additional software videos, because ultimately we also offer those training videos in that question bank. So here, students are going to be walking through kind of a similar type of exercise where we're ultimately asking them to enter in big data using Excel and analyze that data to ultimately make business decisions. These are also auto-graded, and so I always like to briefly showcase these on top of our amazing applying Tableau content so that you know that they're available. Now, speaking of Excel, I'm actually going to jump back into my PowerPoints really quickly. So we can actually talk about one of our newest innovations, and we're very, very excited about this. So those of you who are potentially familiar with Connect or have used it in this course or other courses, you're familiar with the fact that we have a number of Excel offerings. Our Excel content is very robust across the curriculum at McGraw-Hill in Connect. So we've always offered Excel simulations, which offer students a 100% simulated environment within Connect. So it's not live Excel, but it looks like Excel, and it offers students some additional learning aids like hints and show me functionality. So this is what you've probably seen in previous years when we talk about our Excel solutions. And then of course, we offer applying Excel in certain courses across the curriculum where applicable. And we just took a look at one of these. So these are Excel problems that take students outside of Connect to work in Excel software, and then they come back to Connect to submit their answers for auto grading. So this is what we've always had, but we're always innovating. So we've always been asking our instructors and our users what your biggest challenges are. And around Excel, what we've heard a lot of is that employers want employees with strong Excel skills. that students need Excel to build their analytics and decision-making more and more, because that's what employers are seeking, that all students need equitable access to real-world applications like Microsoft Excel, and that sometimes faculty struggle for time to incorporate Excel into your courses, especially if that content requires multiple steps and uploads and downloads of software. So knowing all of this, we went to Microsoft and we have been working with them for the last few years on a new partnership that seamlessly embeds live Microsoft Excel into Connect. So the power of Excel meets the power of Connect. And this is called Integrated Excel. It's a live, seamless experience for students. So that means a completely seamless integration. It means that students have access to the live web-based working version of Excel. It's not a simulated environment. We've also been able to embed a learning aid within these types of assignments that allow students to check their work. We worked with Microsoft to allow instructors to choose your own preferred auto grading solution. So options to grade by formula accuracy only, or either formula and solution value, which is really exciting. So what does that mean? It means that we're building off of our existing Excel content and our robust library of Excel applications to speak to career readiness, knowing that students need more hands-on Excel skills and they need those skills to tie to data analytics and visualizations. It means that all students have access to live Excel within Connect, so they do not need to access Microsoft Office Excel outside of Connect. So no additional software is required. Again, it's completely and seamlessly included in Connect. No uploads or downloads of files, and it's auto-graded. So it's easier and simple for instructors to assign this content and incorporate it into your classrooms. And ultimately, students are learning how to use Excel to make good business decisions. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take a quick demonstration so you guys can see what this looks like. So I'm going to jump over here and just give me one quick second. All right. So we're going to quickly take a tour of the student experience. So what this looks like is just like what you guys are used to seeing when it comes to assignments in Connect. So we offer these integrated Excel assignments, which you saw in Connect within the question pool. If I'm a student and you've assigned an integrated Excel assignment to me, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. I'm going to see the basic details of my assignment, and I'm going to click Begin. Really quickly, I'm going to be given some additional information about the grading policy of this assignment, and I'm going to get a notification around what the grading policy is that you as an instructor have assigned. This is really important because we want to set students up for success, and depending on what your choice is around grading, we want to make sure and alert them to that. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I apologize, I'll make this a little bit bigger. And once I've done so, in my new tab, you can see right here that Excel is seamlessly embedded into the Connect platform. So it's just going to open up a new tab, and you'll see that my exercise is embedded within this Excel spreadsheet. Because this is live Excel, students have all of the access that you would normally have in Excel. So if students are struggling, they have access to the help aids that Microsoft Excel offers. Alongside of that, we also, on this right-hand side, offer students a check my work area and a scratch pad. So I'm going to go ahead and click on scratch pad really quickly. And that scratch pad actually opens up underneath the integrated Excel assignment. In this scratch pad area, students have the ability to work in cells in a non-graded environment. So this is a safe working space if students want to test out anything before they start entering answers into these yellow shaded cells, which are the auto-graded cells of this particular integrated Excel assignment. So again, this is a safe space for students to work. If they do enter any information down here in their Scratchpad, it will save within Connect. So if for any reason you're looking for students to show any particular work, you could ask them to do that work here in the Scratchpad, and it will save that if you ever wanted to go in and take a look at that. Now, I'm going to go back into the graded assignment, and you're going to see we also have the Check My Work learning aid. Now, this is going to be available to students the moment they enter any information into these graded cells. So if I were to click on Check My Work, this is going to tell students if their answers are right or wrong. So ultimately, this is going to allow students a little bit of assistance before submitting their assignment to make sure that they're on the right path to success. So ultimately, Check My Work is saying that my answer is not complete because of the grading policy in particular. I actually haven't answered accurately, and that's because my instructor set a specific grading policy requirement for me. Now, if I continue working in my assignment, and let's say I want to go back and maybe read part of my ebook, you can see I can go back and open up my tab that takes me back to Connect. Ultimately, when I do that, though, I'm going to get an alert that's telling me, you know, if you want to continue your assignment or you want to go back to Connect, you need to save your work. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure to click Save and Return to Assignment. And it's also going to remind me again that one of my answers is going to be counted as incorrect because of the grading policy my instructor set up. So you can see here, we really want students to be successful, and that grading policy is hugely important in that path. So after I click OK, I'm done with my assignment. I'll just go ahead and submit it. And then ultimately, after I've submitted, I can view my results. So here I can see the point value that I scored, and then I can actually open up my assignment. And here I can show the correct answer, and I can toggle back and forth between the correct answer and my answer. So ultimately here, it's showing me what the correct answers are in a formula, which is my grading policy for this particular assignment. You'll also notice that sometimes we mention common alternative formulas. This question comes up quite often. What is our tolerance for alternate answers? And the answer is our tolerance is very open to common alternative formulas. And we've worked a lot with Microsoft to ensure this particular aspect to these assignments because we know that there are alternate answers that should also be deemed correct. So our tolerance is set up to allow for that. And this is a piece to these integrated Excel assignments that we're really proud of because we know that this is hugely important to instructors and students. So we have worked hand in hand with Microsoft to make this happen. So here you can see if I click on these little red tabs, it's going to show me the accurate information. And again, I can toggle back to my student answer to see what I inputted. And so ultimately I can compare my results to the accurate answers. So that's a really quick walkthrough of what an integrated Excel assignment looks like. And again, if I'm in Connect, these are located right here under Integrated Excel and other Excel resources. Now, what we've done is we've taken our original Excel simulations and we've been transitioning these into our integrated Excel problems, but you will notice we still offer Excel simulations as an option for instructors as well. And again, this is where those amazing tutorial videos live and that additional applying Excel content. So I'm going to pause right there, and Danielle, check to see if there's any questions.
We do not have any additional questions at this time.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much. And last but not least, I'm really quickly going to touch on one more amazing partnership that we are offering now at McGraw-Hill, and this is at the platform level of Connect. So ultimately, we have partnered with Proctorio to offer remote proctoring and browser locking capabilities. This is an amazing partnership that actually occurred before the pandemic hit. What great timing. But ultimately, we allow instructors to control assessment environments. We offer video monitoring of assessment experiences and even verification options. And ultimately, we have two packages for this partnership within Connect. One is free, it's our basic offering. So all instructors have access to this. It allows basic browser locking capabilities, video proctoring, basic reporting, and support. And then ultimately, if you or your institution are looking for even more than that, we offer a plus package that does have a cost associated with it per student for the term that allows some more in-depth proctoring and verification services. Now, I know we're up against time, so just quickly some frequently asked questions. Our Proctorio partnership does not require a program to download, but students do need to use Google Chrome as their browser, and we'll need to add in the Proctorio browser extension. There's unlimited usage for the duration of your Connect course as an instructor. And as far as devices that are compatible, this is compatible with desktops, laptops, Macs, Chromebooks, Mac and Surface tablets. And we do offer deep integrations with learning management systems. All of the core learning management systems that are most widely used, like Canvas, Blackboard, D2L, and even some additional other options. So lastly, just to show you how easy it is to use Proctorio, this is now going to be a part of your assignment setup. So ultimately, once you choose your content and you name your assignment and you set your start and due dates, you'll notice that there's a new area within your assignment setup for proctoring. So if you ultimately want to enable any proctoring options, you simply slide this button to the right and it will open up those proctoring settings for you to select from. You will be alerted in bright green if you select any proctoring settings that are at that plus level, so that higher level. So if you're trying to make sure that you're staying within the basic free settings, we make that very easy for you to accomplish. So with that, I'm going to stop right there. And we are right up against time. And just take a moment to say thank you so much to all of you who have joined us. I do apologize. It does seem as though WebEx is having some technical difficulties today. So we will share this recording with everyone. We know that there are a number of instructors who had some difficulty joining, so we'll be sending that out to everyone who registered. And of course, we'd like to say a huge thank you to our authors who have joined us today, Paul and Steve. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and expertise and in joining us in offering this webinar today. We're just so incredibly appreciative of all that you do. And a big thank you to all of our educators who have joined us today as well. We know that especially the last year and a half has presented some challenges, and we're just so incredibly grateful for all that you do to impact student lives through learning, even through a pandemic. If you have any questions, if you would like any support, you can go ahead and reach out to myself or Danielle. We are both members of the accounting team here at McGraw-Hill, and our contact information is on the screen. And Danielle, if you wouldn't mind just jotting your email address and my email address in the chat, that would be fantastic. We're here to offer you one-on-one demonstrations and training in Connect. And if you'd like any desk copies or have any questions about content, simply email us and we will be here to support you. And last but not least, we know that there's a lot of discussions going around about the recent announcements around model curriculum tied to the CPA evolution. For those of you who are opting to consider any curriculum changes based on that model curriculum, please know that within your Connect course, we do offer curriculum correlation grids that map to the current model curriculum that has been announced. We recognize it's not final and we will continue to update that content as we move forward, but we wanted to make sure that you are completely supported if you are making or thinking about making any curriculum changes. We also offer some great support through course building and implementation. So if you need any assistance, either updating existing Connect courses or building out new courses, we have the support teams here and ready to help you with that and take some heavy lifting off of your shoulders. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for joining us and have an incredibly wonderful week. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Lauren,
Thanks, Paul.
thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Eve.